Hey, welcome to another episode of the show, friends. I'm Joe, and today we're talking to one of the most definitely legit superintendents I've ever had on this show. And I'll tell you why if you stick around. So, Dr. Kansi Pedroza, superintendent of Tukwila, isn't that a cool name? Tukwila School District. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic. Hey, we're going to jump into this right away. I got to understand right out of the chutes. Most superintendents, they come in four categories. You get the climber superintendent, the one that's, I'm going to go to this district, I'll build my resume, and then I'm going to climb over here and build my. You get the coasters that are sticking around. I got a couple of years left until my state system, point system. You've got your dreamers out there that read books and go, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if, and then you have builders. Yeah. You just have builders. Yeah. Um, you left a pretty significant job
Yeah.
to come to where you're at right now. Um, and you knew that it was going to be a hard job.
Yeah.
What do you see in hard things that is just attractive, Kansi?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I've always been in those situations, even as a principal. So when I was a principal, I had to do the same thing, go into a school community that had the lowest test scores in the district. And I had to build Seattle World School, which was brand new, and get the building built and the whole high school programming, which, by the way, hadn't stepped foot in high school for over 30 years. So that's kind of my nature, is to just create a visioning and building. It's just what I love to do. But the truth is, I actually interned in Tukwila School District as a superintendent intern in
Ah.
2014.
So you knew some
I
of the
knew what I was
backstage. You
walking
knew what you
into,
were jumping
and I
into.
loved it here. I really did. And I loved, so, I started my career in bilingual education, right? I have a bachelor's degree and then it's called English as a second language in elementary
So, yeah,
education.
yeah.
So, and I started my career as a newcomer teacher. And basically, when you built Seattle World School, it was the first first school in the state for bilingual immigrant and refugee students as a accredited high school. We built that together. And but Tukwila is a district like that. It's
But
very
you left the largest district in your state,
yeah.
right? 100 plus schools. You
Yeah,
managed
104 schools with
schools, continuous
45
improvement,
to 50,000 students at the
teaching and
time. Yeah,
learning, student
yeah,
services,
I was the associate
African
superintendent my
American
last
male
job.
achievement. That's
Yeah,
not a job. That's running a small city.
yeah, I know.
Then Tequila calls, right?
Yeah,
Okay, 2,700
yes,
students. What do you got? 5 schools,
yes.
right? And the district just lost a superintendent and chief
Yeah.
financial
We
officer.
actually had a turnover of more than 50% of the central
Yeah,
office
and
team.
they
Yeah.
needed an interim. They didn't need they just needed an interim, and
Yes. Yeah.
you knew it was a crisis. You saw
Yes.
the job posting and you said, uh, "All right, pick me." What were you thinking?
Well, they called me first. The recruiters called me. And, like I said, when I interned here, I actually stayed longer than my required hours when I interned here. I
Ah,
loved it so much. And I did decide in 2014 that if I ever had an opportunity to come back, I would. Timing wasn't good. On one time, there was a director position that I actually had to not take. And then later on, actually, in full disclosure, I actually applied for the Tukwila superintendency for
okay.
the previous tenure. So I've been itching to come back here for a while, because I will say you have to find places that align to and not that Seattle didn't. I was part of a lot of the good work in Seattle. I was on the racial equity committee, that the first racial equity policy, the instructional philosophy, like a lot of key policies, the Know Your Rights policies in
Doing
Seattle.
heavy work.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
the things related to students. And I did that work there, and I'm really proud of my work in Seattle. And I really still I love the people there. My kids matriculated from there. But for me, this is a district with over 80% students who are speak another language, and over 50% identify for MLL services, 80% poverty. And it actually mirrored a lot of the schools I worked at. When I was the principal of Seattle World School, we were 90% free and
And
reduced
didn't
lunch.
New York Times come out and say, like, Tukwila is one of the most it
We're
is
one of the
probably
most
the
diverse,
most
right?
diverse
And yeah,
school
it's
on the
complex, but
yeah,
it's also there's so much to create here for scholars and staff. And so I've actually attempted to come back a few times. So when they called me for this, I had to think about it for a long time, a long time. And I actually, you know, thought about the interim too. That was worrisome to me a little bit. But, like I said, it's about your heart.
yeah,
It's really about your heart and where does your heart lead you? And sometimes you just have to listen to your heart and say, this is the right thing to do for me right now. And so I listened to my heart. I actually did consult with a couple of good friends of mine too, and the recruiter I knew very well, and I asked a lot of questions, and then I did my research and saw that their values as a district, the policies, the equity work was aligned to my values. And to be honest, I have a multiracial family, right? So I have to be very strategic
mm,
about where I place my family too, because
right,
my
right.
children are multilingual, they're multi religious, they're a lot of they're all the things, right? And their dad's from Morocco, and so just I it's about not because I'm not just looking for professional community. I'm also thinking about my own family, right?
Right.
And all of that. So there's a lot of things about that. And Seattle, I was there for 26 years combined over two periods. And like I said, I did great work there. I'm really proud of the work we did there. And but sometimes it's about your heart, right? And
Did your heart understand the $4.5 million
no,
shortfall?
absolutely not. No.
Okay, okay, so, that everything wasn't advertised in the
Oh,
job.
no, no, no. And I
You
think
you took it
actually,
anyways,
yeah, when I took the helm and
and
got
not
sworn
only that,
in.
but you also had sanctions by your state to come
Yeah,
in and
that came later actually, and we actually self-reported to the state for the sanctions. But I'll just say, that full financial piece wasn't fully, and it wasn't fully clear even to the board, to be honest. Um, I actually had a good colleagues, friends of mine who were CFOs who called me and said, "Hey, we need like you've got some digging in here." And because I did a lot of when we were in Seattle my last year there, I even in my own department, I think I ended up cutting 29 million in 1 year or something with all the schools and everything to combine. But so I knew I've done that before,
right.
and I wasn't intimidated by that, but it definitely wasn't something I knew fully coming into the job,
And
in
most
all honesty.
superintendents that I know, except maybe 2 or 3, and I'm looking at one of them, would go into survival mode.
Yeah.
Cut programs, freeze hiring, just play defense. You 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 had to manage a bit, but you did a lot of the opposite, right? Um, 18 months after inheriting this budget disaster, you launched the Tukwila Promise.
Yes, I
Tell
know.
me about that. That was an actual investment,
Yes.
okay, during very, very hard times.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say honestly, so I luckily had the experience of overseeing supporting Seattle Promise in Seattle Public Schools. So I had that experience, and it just so happened that I had an intern my first year in the district who actually was the leader of the Seattle Promise from the city side in Seattle. So he was my intern, and I talked to him about let's talk about because I felt like if anyone deserved something like that, it was Tukwila scholars.
What
Tukwila scholars
give us a
really.
sense, a real quick, just, the construct. What is the Tukwila Promise?
Oh, sure. Tukwila Promise actually it's a partnership with our local. It's Highline College, and our city partners, City of Tukwila. And we together have launched, and a large number of my students already qualify for free and reduced lunch, but actually fulfills the gap of whatever else isn't covered through scholarships or through grants or through other things. So the Tukwila Promise, it's any scholar that graduates, it's a Tukwila resident that graduates from our high school. We're one high school district, is
Yep,
guaranteed 2 years of free tuition. It's not free, so I have to say that, but it means no cost to the students.
sure.
So the city of Tukwila actually is the one that actually supports the remaining amount through their partnership with us. And so it was us about working together in an interlocal agreements through the three agencies, building this up over time. In all honesty, when I first came up with the thought and approached this with my board president, I thought it was going to take us 3 years to kind of launch this. But through partnerships, conversations, through my work. Also, I have to also give props to our representative, Steve Berquist, who helped us with the interlocal pieces and helped move things along in some areas and helped with testimony because he actually was a supporter of Renton Promise in Renton. So, but it started first with an idea with my board president, and then sort of catapulted into this partnership in figuring out, and I had to figure out the project management and scope. But somehow we got it over the line with a city of Tukwila voting it in their budget
Oh my goodness.
proposal, and sooner than expected.
So it truly is a partnership where you have
It's a true
multiple
partnership between city
institutions, and
government, our local college, and our district.
they
Correct.
all have what we call skin in the game.
Yeah.
Wow. And a climber superintendent would be cautious. Just, I got to protect my reputation. I got to protect my resume. You moved urgently. I mean,
Yes.
you launched this thing before your first contract was up,
Yes. I know.
right? You said my kids don't have time to wait.
Yeah.
I've heard you say it over even before we started talking on the record here. They are your kids. My
Yeah.
kids
We are.
deserve this. You chose urgency,
Yeah.
right? Importance and urgency. And that's what I think people are attracted to the bold leaders like
Yeah.
you, Conci, who are willing to step into the ring knowing this is going to be a fight. It's not going to be easy. We don't have the finances to make this thing happen all alone. So I got to be vulnerable and say, I need some help.
Yes.
Mm.
And I think I am super grateful that the trust from all of our partners and our representatives and everything was in me to kind of lead the charge on this. I'm just super thankful for that. Yeah.
Wow. And your background. I mean, first person in your family to graduate
Yeah.
college.
Yeah.
Not just college. I mean, you went to college multiple times.
Yes, I know.
Your parents were migrant workers.
Yes, they
And
were.
they marched with Cesar Chavez
Yeah.
during that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. They were from, and I really have to say, yeah, fascinating. And my mom's always talked about it. And it was super funny because I got to meet Dolores Huerta, who was a partner with Cesar Chavez. Recently, I was so thrilled, and I came up to her and I said, "Hey, my parents were migrant workers in Dinuba, which is right near Delano." And she said, "Oh my God, that's right by Delano." And I said, "I know." And my mom said she used to go over and march with your group for the farm work. So my mom would share stories all the time. Like she
Yes.
was 8 months pregnant when the asbestos would go over the pesticides, and not the asbestos, but the pesticides would go over my mother, over the heads of the workers. And
Mm.
she was 8 months pregnant with me at that time. And so my mom tells all these stories about all these things. And when I told my mom the picture, I showed her the picture. Look who I met. Mom goes, "Yeah, we marched with them." So
Like matter of fact, just
yeah, yeah, we marched with them. My mom's worked with One America, and my mom is an activist in her heart.
love it. Love it. Love it. I also love the fact that you've been just so open. You have a child with autism.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, as a family, I might want to hide that in the glass bowl of my role as a superintendent. But you actually you're leveraging it. You're loving your child,
Yeah.
and just just saying how normal this happens to be,
Yeah.
and showing your own resiliency, which I'm sure you learned from your parents.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just sharing this morning actually with somebody about that because so we have autism in my family. I have two nephews, but we didn't know back in the day what it was, right?
Right, right.
Um, and I think being a parent, I will say in the beginning I was scared, and I will say my son got diagnosed the first year I was a principal. The
Mm.
first year I was a principal.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it was, and I almost thought about leaving the job because I was just didn't know if I could handle it all, right? But luckily, lots of support and everything. But that journey has really changed me. When I walked, so I was one of my roles in Seattle was the chief of student services,
Right.
and which had special education under it. And so I was experiencing firsthand as a parent the IEP process,
Mm.
right? The assessment process, the evaluation process. And I will also say I've had moments where um, and I don't always say this is my job. I just come in as the parent. And I've had some tough experiences as a parent in the education system. I've had tough experiences as a parent at the grocery store, etc. And it does change you. It does change you. I remember having to meet every time my son transitioned from fifth grade to sixth grade and eighth grade to ninth grade. I insisted on a meeting with all the case managers every time because I wanted them to know that he was much more than his test score, right? That he had more that he could do that wasn't picked up by his assessments.
Love
And
it.
so all of those experiences and having a daughter of migrant workers, right, with my aunts and uncles and all the stories they've told, um, and my mom and dad, I it changes you. How can it not, right? It just changes you. And so when you're sitting in a decision room, when you're with people with decisions, making decisions, um, and they don't have all those experiences, you
Mm.
have to speak up.
You lend it to them. You lend them your courage. You lend them your hope because
Yeah.
you've been through it. Again, resilience, but also just that mindset of advocacy of I I love my kids. I love my community, and love is a fighting word,
Yeah.
right? I put my dukes up, and we're gonna fight through this for you, not against you, for you. And that's so counter to just the rancor in the world today.
Can I share one little tidbit
Yeah,
on that? So, and
please,
I wanted
please.
that vulnerable, I just want to speak to the vulnerable part. I'll just be short. But I remember one of my staff in my former district said, "You're so fearless." And I
Mm,
looked at him and I said, "I am afraid
yeah.
every day, because I am a woman of color speaking truth to power."
Mm,
So I'm
mm.
afraid every day. But sometimes you just have to do it. You have to be brave and do it anyway. You just have to be brave and just speak into it because you know it's what's best for our families or our kids, or it's a perspective that other people need to hear right then and there.
Did your parents have that amount of just
Oh, yeah.
resolve
My
and
mom.
resolute?
Yes, my mom.
Okay,
My
so
dad
you've
was more
seen it
cautious.
modeled. You have seen that modeled. I
Yes.
love it. But you're one of those leaders that I know is so in love with a mission that is so beyond you.
Yeah.
So in love with that mission that you're okay being disliked by others.
Yeah. Well, my mom, my tias, I have a lot. My mom has five sisters, right? And they're all really close. And I've been, like I said, I have been poured into by so many amazing women in my life.
Mm.
Um, my aunts, my cousins, my sister, and even, mentors of mine. And so friends, girlfriends I have. And so I've had a lot of, I call it, I have a lot of badass women in my life. And I just am so
I'd
fortunate.
wanna be on your side,
Yeah.
in every argument with your badass friends.
Yeah, and
That
I'm
is
just
for
lucky
sure.
because I've had role models, I've had coaching, I've seen people, speak truth to power sometimes, that be brave, and also, I actually also know who my allies are, right? In the men that I work alongside with, and, who really firmly believes, and I think there's just some, when you build coalitions and networks and actually are just super relational and human-centered, um, then you can be collective in supporting each other. And sometimes I'm tired and I can't say it. I
Yeah.
have no problem texting an ally and saying, "You need to speak up right now.
And
You
you
need to
built
do
that
this. You
level
need to
of
do this."
credibility to where people, like, stand and salute and say, I got this," because you're
Yeah,
building a community of brave people
yeah.
that are willing to step into that ring. Yeah. Yeah, so we've gotta prove to folks out there that you are human because
I
you
am
are
human.
operating as superhuman, and I so appreciate your story, and thanks for sharing that. I do a lightning round, with guests, and it's just a fun way to get to know you at a whole 'nother
Sure.
level. So, I would like to know if there is a quote that you have just, like, oriented your life around.
So, one that stands right behind me, actually. It's right now, it's what we're working on with my school community. It's from Maestro Jerry Teo. It's trauma that is not transformed, is transferred.
Wow,
Um, and
that's
so
powerful.
when we talk about human centeredness, and centering humanity, we have a lot of trauma happening to my scholars, my families, our community right now. Even the day to day school, when we have stuff that happens, right? Things, an incident, a crisis, or in a school community, or whatever it is. But if we don't do the social emotional work of really wrapping around our scholars and our community and our families, it's going to get transferred. We have to figure out how to continually do the healing. We need to center healing in everything we do, because or else we're going to be left picking up a lot of pieces
Yeah.
that we could have dealt with earlier.
We don't have to look very far around our world to see just that unmet need across so many different places and spaces. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I am a complete night owl. And I'm going to say I hate the first day back at school or work if I take a vacation, because I always tell myself I'm going to go to bed early, and I always go to bed at 1 o'clock. It's terrible.
What what's a decision that you'd make 10 times over again?
I've had to grow into this point in my life. I was never a person. I mean, I felt like if the money was supposed to be spent in certain ways, especially like if you can vision it, dream it. Having gone through the last actually 5 years of budget cuts and
Right.
this and that, and now leading, I would say I would still do the work I had to do with the budget stabilization in my district. I believe my students in particular, who are highly diverse and creative and amazing, deserve a healthy district and a healthy foundation
Yeah.
more
You
than ever.
manage when you must, and
Yes,
that called you to manage. How about Starbucks or the local coffee shop?
both.
Okay.
Starbucks for drive-through, local coffee shop, and which hopefully and POC owned, people of color owned, but for conversation.
There it is. There it is. How about a lesson, a big lesson from your parents? Best lesson from your parents?
My mom said always, my mom worked as a migrant worker, then in the cannery, et cetera, et cetera. Her last job was a paraeducator, as a bilingual paraeducator, and she had some tough experiences during that time, from people who sometimes questioned what she was doing or how she was doing. Anyway, my mom said, no matter what you do in a school system, no matter what position you hold, treat everyone with dignity and respect,
Mm,
no matter what. The custodian, the parent, you just don't know what they know. You don't know who they are. You don't know their background. You don't know their stories. And until you do, it doesn't matter, but you treat everyone with the same dignity and respect. The principal isn't higher than the custodian. Everyone pours love into the kids. Everyone does that. So you need to pour love into them.
so good. If you weren't running a school system and, changing family trees, what would you see yourself doing?
So originally, I wanted to be a lawyer.
Again, wouldn't wanna cross that.
No, I wanted to be a lawyer, but I think actually, if I had to pick another job to do, I love being a principal. I
My
really did
most
love
fun
being a
job.
principal. Yeah,
My most fun job. Most important job was the one that you're doing, though.
thank you.
Yes.
It's tough one, but I feel, I'll be honest, I'm gonna say this for those of you who aspire to be a superintendent, I do love my job.
There it is. Actually, I read the most recent, superintendent, survey data coming out of AASA saying that 90% of superintendents are satisfied with their jobs. So I
Yep,
think there's a lot of just bad news out there
yep,
that isn't right news.
no.
Anyway, let me keep going here. What would the first generation college student Consi think of Superintendent Consi today?
I think they actually, I think they do think I'm a role model, right? I think they do believe that and so what I try to do is, because there's a lot of push for our scholars to go fast, fast, fast.
Yeah, yeah.
And I went slow. I didn't get my doctorate till I was 50. So I try to make sure that my journey is really clear to people, that it is a journey and not a destination. And so I try to make sure that message is clear to them all the time, because I don't want them to see this position and think it's too far out of reach.
Yeah.
I want them to understand that they can be in this job or any job that they want, and they can take their time or they can go fast. It just they own that process, not I. And so that's
So
what I'm trying to role model for them is it doesn't have to happen on anyone else's timeline but yours.
so powerful. I love that. Name a leader that you model yourself after.
So one I share I love Dr. Betty Cobbs, who's retired.
Salute
Betty
to Betty Cobbs.
so Betty Cobbs was the first Black principal in one of our districts up north. She's now on the board. I think she's the past president or current president of one of the colleges. But up there in the north end of Washington State, shout out to Dr. Cobbs. But I want to say because Dr. Cobbs, when I first became a new, I was an assistant principal serving her, and I was brand new in the district, brand new in my position. I mean, new. And I had lots of years of experience as a dean, but boy, she really helped me
Mm.
navigate the district politics. She helped me. She had honest conversations with me. She pulled me aside, whispered in my ear. I was the first Latina administrator hired, so she was going to pour everything into me to guarantee my success. And I remember that when I mentor people now. Like the way she modeled that for me is how I try to emulate that when I mentor people now, is try to pour into people as much as I can to support them on their journey. And it's not always easy, but she's been a great role model for that.
You're a talent multiplier, and you've learned it from some of the best. How about one word to describe Tequila's future? One
Oh,
word, Bob.
opportunities,
Opportunity.
opportunities.
Opportunity. Love it. Okay, last one. Fun one. AI versus your most masterful bilingual teacher. Who wins?
Oh, hands down. My staff hands down win. They are creative, adaptive, flexible. They love and pour into our scholars every day. Um, yeah, hands down, my staff.
Dr. Conci, this has been we could go on and
I
on.
know.
This has been good. I so appreciate you have a ton of influence. Your credibility is off the charts. Your willingness to step in and do what needs to be done in a lot of the unattractive things that superintendents must do. You're teaching us some lessons. If there's a aspiring superintendent out there listening in right now going, I could use one more piece of encouragement from this
Yeah.
Wonder Woman. What would you share with that person that's just wondering, would it be worth it to invest my life for a paycheck in that office?
Yes, 100%. First of all, especially to all the folks out there, because I will just say Latinos and women are an untapped resources, and I would say people of color in general, they're
Yeah.
untapped resources. Women are still only 25% of superintendents in our nation. So I'm going to
Mm,
say that out loud for
mm.
everybody to know. So you can imagine for people of color or women of color, it's even less than that. And in my state, there's only 6 of us total women of color out of all the superintendents, 295. That's incredible. So I just want to share that statistic. So I don't know if that's a tapping problem or a belief issue, but if you have thought about it once or twice, please reach out to one of us who's been in these shoes and reach out and talk to us about the job, because first of all, I can steer you with a lot of people who love it what they're doing,
Yeah.
and there's broad impact that you can have. And I think that we need more people with more. We need, as our students are changing, we need a broad stroke of diversity around all of our superintendencies, because we actually talk to each other and lean on each other too. I was just with 8 of them, 10 of them last night for a big town event, and we were sitting to the side, and I have a team of colleagues that are as diverse as my students.
Mm.
So we work together, we rely on each other, we talk with each other, and it just enriches me, right, to hear all the things that are great things that are happening in other districts. So please reach out to somebody that you want to talk with about the job. And if you are not seeing yourself in the role model, our kids need you now more than ever.
More than
If
ever.
you're first gen, whatever your circumstance, if you were in the military, whatever it is, we need your experiences here.
So if somebody's got the burn in their belly right now going, I want to, I want to talk to her. I want to learn more about Tequila, or how might they get in touch with you?
So on my website, my contact is on the website. So there's a superintendent page, so you can just connect with me and email me. And if you just let me know what you're interested in, I'm happy to. I'm so lucky you. I'm the president of my regional WASO superintendent group, and so I have a ton of superintendents that I could connect you with. And I'm also happy to talk to people as well. But please reach out. It's on my website, Tukwila'SchoolDistrict.org, and I'm happy to I really, this is one of my goals in life, is to really support and uplift, especially women and people of color in the superintendency. But for me, also, it's really about anyone who has as a champion for
Mm,
the diversity and the beautiful richness of
yeah.
our scholars to help them really excel to be the best that they can be. So that's what it's really about.
Folks, I told you, definitely legit. Honestly, Kansi is a leader worth following. So follow that line of advice, channel in however you might. And I just again want to thank you for joining us on the show
Thank
today.
you. Thank you very much.
Yes. All right. Peace, friends. Let's go Pioneers, right?
Bye.
Woo-hoo. Bye.